Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 126 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Okay, so we're going to start off this episode with an email from Joey, a message from Stephan. We're going to jump into the Thursday shave of the day. Then Joe over at Shave Straight and Safe did another blog post that is worth mentioning. Friday shave of the day. The Wet Shaving News Podcast has done it again, this time with an interview with the creator of Rockwell razors, one of the founders of Rockwell razors. And I got to tell you, I woke up early last night. I woke up like about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just happened to flip that on as something to kind of distract me as I was trying to get to sleep. Well, big mistake, because I couldn't get to sleep because I was too busy listening to that. You want to talk about an excellent interview. Now, I've been podcasting for a while now, but that was my hat is off. It really is. That's an interview. Good stuff. Holy cow. Anyhow, I will link to that because, give that a listen. That is a great Wet Shaving News Podcast, Rockwell razors. Okay, so then I'm going to talk about the Monday shave of the day as well as the weekend shaves of the day, Tuesday and Wednesday shave of the day. And then finally I'm going to finish up with Don't Let Ghosts Rule Your Life. The other thing that I wanted to mention, though, is that I saw this post, today. Brian put it up there on Facebook, and it was a coach, and this was the Virginia Tech men's basketball coach, Buzz Williams. Apparently didn't like the way his team was behaving during the national anthem and proceeded to set up some chairs for his team and put veterans in front of it, and then proceed to tell his team that they didn't earn those chairs and that the veterans did. And it absolutely moved me. It was one of those things where, someone had made the comment in the post that we need more coaches like this, and the response that I had was, well, we need more American men like this, more American men that teach the younger generation, whether that be adults or teenagers or kids, that, America is worth standing up for. America is worth fighting for. The values and traditions that we have in this country of standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and being respectful to our elders and acknowledging that, yes, while we've made some errors, we've done a whole lot of good in this country. That's something that we need. We need more American men that do exactly that. And it doesn't matter where you come from or what you do. It doesn't matter if you're an immigrant into this country or have been in this country for generations. We require within America, especially right now, people, American men and American women, to stand up and let people know, hey, this country is great. It always has been. We just have a tendency to kind of delve into the negative all the time. But by and large, there's a lot of good here. There is a lot of good. I mean, if you think about the things that we do and the things that we are, we're different people, yes, but we can get along very similarly to how we get along within the wet shaving community. We have the capacity and capability to talk to one another and to listen to one another and to treat each other with kindness and fairness. But at the same time, there are certain things that, need to be respected no matter what side of any issue you fall on. The respect of the American veteran and the American soldier and sailor who have, as this coach pointed out, put their lives on hold for a period of time, potentially put their lives in danger for a period of time, and in some cases actually were in danger for a period of time, just so we on this other side of that equation have the capacity and ability to argue about stuff that in the greater scheme of things is, well, stupid. I can't say it any other way than that. It's there are some things in life that are important, such as life, such as love. When you understand that as soon as you see a child born into this world, whether it's yours or somebody else's, when you experience that moment when a child is born into the world, you suddenly come to the realization that, the majority of stuff that we get wrapped around the axle about is just, well, meaningless. But yet we do it anyhow. So I wanted to just give a shout out to Brian and to all of the folks out there in the listening audience that have stepped up and are teaching young men and young women of all ages and of all situations that this is not a bad country. We're not a bad people. Yeah, we've made some mistakes, but that's life. And that there's a need to respect others. And there are certain others that put their lives on hold and potentially in danger, and sometimes truly in danger, to protect what we are and who we are. And the thing is that in most cases, they did not do this because of a choice of their own making. The common soldier and sailor is not the one that sends themselves to war. It's somebody higher up that makes that decision. They're doing a job that they think is important, that they signed up for, that they agreed to willingly, and they're doing that job. Regardless of what the person in charge tells them to do, they attempt to do it to the absolute best and utmost of their ability. And whether you agree with what they're doing or not, the motivation and the attempt to do what they're doing to the utmost of their ability in conditions that make prisoners seem like a good life in some cases is astounding and amazing and deserves respect. Anyhow, kind of a mini rant to start us off a little bit, I suppose. As they say in the Sherlock Holmes movie, crack on. So I got an email from Joey. It says, "Hello, I listened to your podcast via Stitcher. Great podcast, by the way. I'm new to wet shaving. I've used an electric shaver for practically the last 20 years or so. I was first forced to shave when I was in the military as a teenager. Recently, I heard about the therapeutic value of shaving using water, cream, and a blade, whether DE or straight. I went and got myself a nice Merkur 34C. I am much more comfortable using a safety razor than a cartridge or disposable. I failed at finding an after handle. I had one collecting dust from when I was in the military, but lost it somewhere within the last 20 years. I'm a thrifty person, so I thought I'd share my idea. I pick up a bar of Shea Moisture 3 Butlers utility soap, scrape the soap into a container, and add a little water to form the soap. See the attached photo. Thanks for the podcast." And I'll attach the photo. It's basically some soap shavings in a small jar. Okay, so Joey, first off, welcome to Wet Shaving. And next, I was also I wasn't necessarily forced to shave when I was in the military. I mean, I was doing it at the time anyhow, so it wasn't that big a deal for me. But it was, well, let's just say there was much more of a schedule than what I was used to, which is probably typical in the military. The idea of using bar soap, whether it's moisturizing soap or whatever, the thought of using bar soap is not foreign at all. Quite honestly, in the first, I've been shaving in the shower for many, many years before I started traditional wet shaving with a brush and everything else. And I would use bar soap, and I've said this many times on the air, I would use bar soap instead of a shaving soap. I used that for years. It was economical, it was easy, it was, fairly cheap. Not a big deal, no muss, no fuss. I had to wash my face anyhow, throw some soap on, shave it off, no big deal. And so the idea of putting it in a jar to form some soap, yeah, it works. Probably works very, very well. Throw a brush on that and get a good lather, and you probably get a great shave with that. Anyhow, thanks for the idea. I'll post the picture up there on the blog in the show notes, and thanks for the email. So I got a message from Stephan on Facebook. An idea popped into my head this week. A question, actually. What can I use as part of my pre-shave to soften my stubble? Then it hit me. What do people use to soften their hair? Hair conditioner, of course. So I tried it. And it was great. After wetting my face as usual, I coated my stubble with hair conditioner. Left it for a couple of minutes whilst I lathered in the bowl. Then I rinsed it off and lathered my face. Through a 3-pass shave with a touch-up, I got a very smooth, comfortable shave. May I say BBS? I suggest giving it a try. Something more people have in their bathrooms. I wonder if any of the listeners have tried this method. If not, I'm claiming this method as mine. I hope you're taking life as it comes and learning how to spell Kai. Okay, so Stephan, thank you very much for the message. Yes, I know how to spell it. I just can't pronounce it letter by letter. Anyhow, I have never tried that. It makes sense though, because what you're actually doing when you're in the preparation is softening the beard with moisture, and the oils and such that are in the conditioner would do exactly that. So yeah, it would work. That would be interesting if others had given it a try. I've never needed to. I find for myself anyhow that just a straight shower works great, and I don't need to do any additional softening or prepping. However, I did find out, as I will discuss this week, that if you don't do prep, well, it can lead to problems. So stay tuned. All right, so let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so this morning, for some reason, and I don't know quite why, but for some reason, I woke up early this morning. Felt great, woke up early, good night's sleep, and that's a bit unusual considering that I was up late last night, putting the podcast together. So all is good. Well, seeing as how I had the extra time, I went ahead and shaved with a straight razor this morning. So the soap I used this morning was one of my all-time favorites just because of its smell. And that is Basilica. Now, I've had Basilica was one of the first soaps that I ever bought. So the tub of Basilica that I have is, well, at this point, 2.5 years old, thereabouts, call it 2 years, somewhere in that neighborhood, 2.5 years. And so back when I first started, that was the first real tub of artisan soap that I bought. So Queen Charlotte soap, Basilica, and it has been and still remains one of, for me, the most outstanding smells that there is. So it is a frankincense and myrrh incense type smell. And as I've alluded to in the past, I was an altar boy way back when. It's amazing Have you ever noticed that altar boys and kids of preachers, they're the ones getting all the trouble? So it's kind of an oxymoron when somebody then tells you, oh yeah, I was an altar boy. Oh, yeah, sure, right. 40 years later, yeah, I believe that. Anyhow, I was in fact an altar boy, and one of the things that I have always remembered with great fondness is the celebrations at Christmas, with frankincense and myrrh, and the incense in the church and everything. And so basilica the aroma is designed around that, and yeah, it smells, at least to me, just like it. The memories that came flooding back the first time I smelled it, and in fact every time I smell it, are just, well, rather phenomenal. I feel young again. Anyhow, so did that, and shaved with one of my straight razors, which is more of a full wedge straight razor. It is a heavy thing. Holy cow, it's heavy. Compared, say for example, to my little 4/8 case. This thing is if it's not a full wedge, it's just shy of it, and great shaver. I mean, the weight and the heft is really, it's a nice addition, to be quite honest. So, there are times when I enjoy the heft of that razor, and then there are other times when I enjoy the rapier-like quality of my little thin case. So it just depends on my mood. It's almost like, okay, so today I apparently felt like an old sailor with a heavyweight cutlass, and instead of the artisan with the rapier. So just one of those things. But it was rather interesting. Good shave. Didn't have any problems. 3-pass shave. Now I went ahead and touched up with the same blade that I was using last week. And when I say I touched up just basically right underneath my between the Adam's apple and the chin. There's a spot there that I just cannot get easily and cleanly with a straight razor. I've done it a few times, but it has been just a few times, and it's, for some reason, when I go back and try to replicate, I can't. It's one of those things, if I ever run into anybody that shaves with a straight razor and they say, yeah, I get everywhere, I'll shake their hand. So, cheeks, jawline, things like that, yeah, pretty much BBS with a straight razor, no problems, no issues, although I did nick myself just one time, and it's interesting. As I get more familiar with the straight razor, I find that I slide the straight razor up till it's just barely touching my skin, almost unconsciously, and then I pay attention when I actually touch my skin and shave. Well, yeah, I slid up, in that unconscious moment and got just, a little close. It happens, I mean, if you're going to play around with sharp things, you're going to get nicked every now and then. It's just one of those facts of life. But it's okay. No big deal. I've also gotten to the point where the touch is light enough that it is just a nick instead of a serious cut. So all is good. Anyhow, the basilica, lathered up with the old boar brush and thrown on there. I did put it in my electric scuttle, which did warm things up nicely. Although it's interesting, I find that there are some times when it does a really good job of warming the lather, and other times when it's just, and it's not. It doesn't seem to be consistent. So I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out just what is going on there. So. Anyhow, the shave was good. Like I said, 3-pass shave. Touch up under the neck there with the Kai blade in the black handle flare tip. Again, I'm still just amazed at that blade. But Anyhow, good shave. Finished off with an alcohol-based aftershave just to see if there was any irritation or issues or anything like that. Nothing. Not even really on the cut that I got. Well, I say cut. It's a nick. Okay? Not even there. I mean, just maybe I'm becoming immune to alcohol-based aftershaves. I don't know. But overall, skin feel good, I mean, just good stuff. Now, the one thing that I've noticed is that my Basilica soap, even though I had it in the tub, and the tub was, the lid was screwed on and everything, it has lost moisture to the point where it has shrunk a bit inside the tub. I don't find it to be any more thirsty as a soap. It's lost something. And don't know what it is. Now, the other interesting thing is that I hadn't used the Basilica soap in a while, and one of the things that I noticed in using it is that either I'm not loading the brush up enough, or I'm spoiled by other soaps that have come along, because the slickness and the glide are adequate, but they're not spectacular. And I can't remember, to be quite honest, if it was at one time something that was, well, all that. So at this point, I'm going to say, okay, maybe not, and call it an average glide, average slickness, and all in all. However, I was able to get a good, every time I took a pass, get a good layer down and have pretty good cushioning with it. So not bad from that regard, but all in all, good stuff. It is interesting. After Grimm's rant the other day where he talked about reviews, yeah, it's tough to do reviews. I mean, I don't have a checklist or anything, so it's just kind of a train of thought as I'm going down the road in the mobile studio, just trying to avoid traffic and school buses and kids. And although it seems to be better, I don't see kids. Back in the day, I saw kids piled up. There'd be a kid every block, and they're all getting on the same bus, and it used to drive me crazy. I don't see that this year, so I don't know what's going on. Although I must admit, the guy in front of me, he's a smoker, and either that or else he's vaping, because he just rolled down the window, and I don't believe I've seen that much smoke come out of a vehicle since, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, when they opened the van. It's like, holy cow. He opened the window, rolled it down, and it just it started pluming out, and it just kind of kept going for almost, it seemed like at least 30 seconds or more. It was like, holy cow, how can you see? How can you stand that? Holy cow, good thing nobody else is in there. Anyhow, I digress. But that's part of the problem, or part of the fun of doing a podcast in the mobile studio. Anyhow, great shave this morning, so hopefully you had one too. I also got an email, basically because I am signed up to shavestraightandsafe.wordpress.com, and got the latest blog post from Joe Borelli, which is analyzing the wet shaving market. So, all right, in the past 30 days or so, I'll read from it. In the past 30 days or so, the wet shaving industry has seen some frightening changes. Several vendors have announced they will be closing their doors, changing ownership, or just ceasing operations until further notice. This has concerned many consumers regarding the industry, and has many more trying to understand why this is happening to seemingly successful businesses. To better understand what is exactly going on here, I decided to do some research. What I found really made me think, how did this happen? I said to myself as I searched and searched the internet looking for something to just jump up at me and tell me what's wrong. Little did I know, the answer is in my shaving cabinet. In the past 5 years, we've seen a sudden boom in the emergence of wet shaving artisans. The forums and other forms of social media brought together those who had been wet shaving for years and those who were inquiring about different ways to do a morning task that they felt needed a change. Many used traditional products that were available for years and posted their thoughts online. Members would post their mail calls when their product arrived and would reveal how much they love or hate their product. Some would post about enhancing their purchases and came up with new ideas. These members saw an opportunity for a new business and decided to make a career of it. I mean, seriously, to make a career out of something you love. Who doesn't want that? Boom. An artisan is born. As time passes, more social media groups emerge and the forum membership increases. Wet shaving is getting popular. More and more artisans join in and create new products, offer new services, and share innovative ideas. The majority of these artisans continue their day jobs and work long nights at home to produce, package, and mail out their product to their anxious consumers, who love the fact that they are buying directly from the source. The part-time artisan that spends the last hours of the day answering emails, posting on forums and social media outlets, and developing new products. A typical day in the life of an artisan. Now, let's look at the questions that have come up in the past few weeks and see if we can come to a conclusion. Is the market getting saturated? Well, anyhow, the blog post goes on. Is reselling, piffing, or giving product away, or trading affecting the market, and so on. And so if you would like to hear the rest of that or read the rest of that, I will link to Shave Straight and Safe, Analyzing the Wet Shaving Market, another outstanding post by Joe. Well, it's another, partly cloudy day. Well, actually, it's overcast. Well, it's another overcast day, and here I am in the mobile studio, and driving down the road. It's about 40 degrees, a little chilly out, but that's okay. Spring is springing. I noticed that the daffodils in the front yard were starting to bloom, which is always pretty, and that's a good thing. Anyhow, let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so for the shave of the day, I did something a little bit different today. I actually went with Williams. Now, I haven't used Williams in a long time, but today I reached in and got the puck of Williams soap and proceeded to soak it in hot water to kind of rehydrate it a little bit. And boar brush, 1305 boar brush, lathering it up. Kind of loaded the brush and then face lathered. Did a pretty good job. I was actually surprised. You know, the last time that I had used Williams, I had found that I needed to put a little bit of glycerin in it to get the slickness that I wanted. And this time around, well, that wasn't the case. I guess I loaded it correctly and let it soak in some water so that I got a good load on it, and all in all, yeah, good stuff. So, used my Bell straight razor with a touch-up from my black-handled flare tip with the Kai blade in it, and all in all, not too bad. I was in a little bit of a hurry, and it was just a bit of an experiment. I wanted to see, okay, can I do a straight razor shave in about the same time that I can do a safety shave? And it was pretty close. It was pretty close. Now, I just basically hit the big things with the straight razor, not trying to do any really tedious detailed work with the straight razor. Use the safety razor for that, around the mouth and nose and things like that, chin. That was safety razor territory, and the rest of it was straight razor. And yeah, all in all, good shave. I felt pretty good about it. I threw on some Brute Fabergé aftershave, and just because it's alcohol-based and just to see, and not really any sting or any issues or anything like that. So, to be able to walk away from a straight razor shave without any irritation, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. That's especially one that I, essentially rushed through. It's, yeah. So, all in all, good shave today. Looking forward to Friday. just to see what Friday brings. And, of course, I can't listen to the radio today because of all the garbage on it about the debate last night, but hey, there you go. Holy cow. I haven't watched the last, I don't know, I think I've watched one out of all of them, but, yeah, it's just, oh my gosh, the political infighting is just amazing, just absolutely amazing, and, yeah, anyhow, that's why I start the morning with a shave. Yeah, it's one of those things like, okay, at the end of the day, these people are gonna push and pull and try to gain power wherever they can and influence wherever they can, and I'm just a little guy out here, and I can't control it. I can't really move it one way or the other. So the only thing I can do is watch. So instead of getting worried about it, I'll just have a shave. It's the same reason, quite honestly, that I don't go to forums. People pushing and shoving and trying to one-up each other, and it's just like, no thanks. I'll just sit here and do my thing. Oh, goodness. So, anyhow, yeah, that was the shave of the day today. So the other thing that's keeping me occupied is I am listening to the Wet Shaving News with the interview with one of the guys from Rockwell Razor and the whole story behind Rockwell Razors and the drama and all the interesting goings on. The fact that the razor, the company, in fact, was a couple of college guys, and how they essentially had a successful Kickstarter campaign and then, to a certain extent, made some naive decisions with some manufacturers and craftspeople who kind of took advantage of them, and they turned around, learned their lessons, and instead of walking away, they bucked up and actually made things right. That's admirable. Anyhow, it's a great story, so I'll link to that too, because that is a great podcast episode. It's it's one of the reasons I listen to Wet Shave News, because they do have the opportunity to get the interviews, and they do a great job over there. So I'll link to it. If you want to know the story, give it a listen. All right, well, it's a beautiful day this morning on this Monday morning. Let's talk about a couple of shaves of the day over the weekend and then yet again this morning. Okay, so the shave of the day on Saturday was a little bit different. What I did is I pulled out my Merkur Bakelite Slant and proceeded, because I wanted to give it a shot, proceeded to throw a classic treat blade in it, a carbon steel treat blade that I've had pretty good luck with in my Gillette Double Edge. I've found it to be a fairly decent little blade. So I threw it in my slant. I then proceeded to lather up some Queen Charlotte soap basilica and shave. And lo and behold, I had roughness, I had irritation, I had, issues. Holy cow. What is going on? So, I went ahead, 3-pass shave, and it was irritating and razor burn and I'm thinking, okay, is it the slant? Is it the blade? Is it the soap? What is it? Out of all the variables that we got here, it's got to be something. So what is it? All right. So the next day, I have been shaving off and on with my Puck of Williams soap. So the next day, I went ahead and lathered up some Williams, and with 1305 Samog Boar brush, great little brush, by the way. So lathered up with the Williams after I'd bloomed it for a good bit to kind of rehydrate things, and proceeded to shave with the Mercure Bakelite. However, I had changed the blade. Now, call me just a bit crazy, but I changed the blade for the Kai stainless that had about 6 shaves on it that I had in my black handle flare tip, because I hadn't thrown it away just yet. So I swapped in that blade just to see, okay, what's the difference? I proceeded to give myself a 3-pass shave, little touch-up. Absolutely beautiful, smooth, gentle shave. No irritation, no nothing. So it's like, okay, let's see. It may not be the razor. Let's look at the soap and or the blade. So today I went ahead and bloomed up my Queen Charlotte soap Basilica again, because that's what I had shaved with the other day. Still with the Kai stainless and the Mercure Bakelite slant, and proceeded to lather up with the Basilica and shave. Now, you got to understand, this is a blade that has at this point 8-9 shaves on it. So it's getting a little long in the tooth. I recognize that. Nice, smooth shave. No problems, no issues. So tomorrow, the only other thing that I can think of is potentially prep. And the reason I say that is because the prep for Saturday's shave with that Treat carbon steel blade was a bit different than what I normally do, which is jump in the shower. Okay. Now, I have often said and often heard that, prep is very, very important, in fact, almost vital. If it proves to be the fact, this will be the coup de grace, as far as I'm concerned, in that debate. So we'll see what happens. But tomorrow we'll do the old everything the same, 1305 Basilica, carbon steel blade, Mercure slant, just to see. But today, nice smooth shave. And again, on a Kai blade that is, old. But it does bring up the fact that, again, like I've often said, there are a lot of variables in this little daily experiment that we go through. And if you're having a rough time, if you're having issues or problems, sometimes it's a good thing to start eliminating variables until you get down to the one that makes the most sense, or at least seems to solve the problem. But you got to think of all the variables first. And sometimes, we have a bad experience with a DE blade, and we decide that wet shaving isn't for us. Whoa! Time out. Yeah, so it's one of those things. Every now and then you just got to kind of go, I wonder what it is, and pull out your little CSI kit and begin experimenting. But that's kind of what makes it fun, too. So, anyhow, that's what I did this morning. Hopefully you've had a good morning as well. So it's another fine day out here this morning. Bright sunshine, beautiful day. A little chilly, but that's okay. It's supposed to be on a end of winter, beginning of spring type season day. So all is good with the world. Okay, so let's talk about the shave of the day. So like I was saying yesterday, I've been playing around with Basilica soap and my Mercure Bakelite slant, and the combination of either the Treat Classic, which is a carbon steel blade, or my Kai blade, or a Kai blade. And this all stemmed from a shave of the day over the weekend, where I noticed that my shave was creating a good deal of, irritation, razor burn, what have you, and I was trying to discern where that was coming from. All right, so let's see. If we go down the list of variables that we've been playing with, we've got the soap, we've got the brush, we've got the razor itself, we've got the blade, and we have the prep. Now, the shave of the day on Saturday, I did not do in my usual fashion, which is jumping in the shower. And so what ended up happening today, just as a continuation of that theme, was jumped in the shower, bloomed the Basilica, Queen Charlotte soap Basilica, lathered it up with the 1305 boar brush, and proceeded to throw the classic treat carbon steel blade into the Merkur Bakelite razor. And then shave. And all in all, a pretty good shave was had. It wasn't bad at all. No real significant irritation. Doesn't cut quite as good as the Kai blade, but I had assumed that to begin with. But the main thing was from the irritation front. I slapped on some British Sterling just because I had it and kind of knew what it would do, and did not suffer terrible stinging or, alcohol effects after doing so. So at this point, there is a touch of influence due to the blade itself. Okay, what I have discovered is that the Treat classic carbon steel blade made in Pakistan is not as good a blade as the Kai stainless steel. Okay, I know you're shocked. But it was interesting to kind of do the head-to-head in order to notice the difference. And keep in mind that the Kai blade that I'm using has about 8 shaves on it at this point, and the Treat has 2. So definitely not the same blade. Although I do like carbon steel blades, and they do intrigue me, the Kai stainless steel is a very, very high benchmark. All right. The other thing that I have learned is prep is paramount. It truly is. The difference in comfort level between shaves with prep, jumping in the shower, which would be the equivalent of, warm towels or whatever for a period of time, between that and just splashing some water on your face for a little bit, there is a significant difference. So, I don't know what I'm going to call this episode, but I might put it up there as prep is king. I don't know, because I have often heard it said, okay, that prep is king. But quite honestly, and I'm just being honest here, I've always thought, maybe okay. But I never really changed my routine. And for the most part, my routine was to jump in the shower before I shave and then shave after a shower. Except when I'm out camping. And typically when I'm out camping, it's, just because I'm outside, it's cold or whatever, I don't seem to notice / care that, things are going either really well in the comfort level or things are not going so well in the comfort level. It's almost like there's a switch in my head. The luxury switch gets turned off when I'm out camping. That's a neat concept. Anyhow, so prep makes a significant difference, I have found. And if you don't believe it, no, I wouldn't even recommend it. I know how I do it. And, I jump in a shower normally, and my showers last between 5 and 10 minutes. And while you're sitting there in that very steamy environment and everything else with hot water and, just kind of enjoying it, it's the whole time it's softening things up and making it much more comfortable to shave. Whereas, quite honestly, just splashing a bit of water on your face, probably not going to do the job quite as well. It is a nice day, about 50 degrees out here, overcast sky, bunch of clouds up there, which is okay. It's supposed to be warm today, so I'm looking forward to it. But that's not why we're here. Let's talk about, well, the shave of the day. Okay, so after the experimentation that I did with the Mercure slant and the treat blade and the Kai blade and everything else, yeah, I went back to, well, how I started this week, which was with a straight razor. You know, it's interesting. I started off the week with the intent of doing the whole week with straights. And, well, it just kind of fell apart. Anyhow, we went back to shaving with a straight razor, and straight razor shaved today. Eaton College, lathered up with 1305 bore brush, Samog, cleaned it up with the Mercure slant, and since I hadn't bothered to take the Treat Classic blade out of it, I went ahead and used it for just touch up, and it did a pretty good job. Now, jumped in the shower first, so prep. That's the lesson of the day. But it was interesting. I found that for me anyhow, this go around with a straight, that I got a really good shave with an exceedingly light touch. It was nice. It was you know, one of those things where, yeah, I wasn't struggling with it. I wasn't, I don't know, it just kind of all flowed together and fit together well. It's just one of those good days, you know, good shaves. Everything just kind of worked. No nicks, no cuts, no, had one that it hung on a crease. Imagine that. Guy like me having creases in his face. Oh, well, it happens. It comes with age. Anyhow, didn't nick myself, but did hang slightly on a crease, and if I'd have hung any longer, I probably would have nicked myself. But it's all good. It's that's one of the benefits of that light touch. You know, the other thing that was interesting, speaking of straight razors, is that I think it was last week, Mantic put out a video on how to essentially create training wheels for your straight razor. Yeah, you heard me right. Anyhow, what he did is he took the little metallic paper binder clips, the black ones with the silver handles that kind of spring open to hold a bunch of papers together. Well, if you take one of those and you put it on a straight razor, and, you know, those binder clips are about exactly a 45-degree angle for the handles and for the sides of the thing when they're closed. And so when you take one of those and you clip it onto your straight razor and make sure the straight razor is centered well in it, then you have a nice 22.5-degree angle, and actually a little bit less because of the width of the blade, so call it a 20-degree angle, that your straight razor will then shave you with. So you just kind of put the edge of that binder clip, or the side of the binder clip, kind of up against your skin. And I thought, first off, absolutely ingenious, so bravo. But the other thing that got me thinking is that what led to the creation of safety razors and how they determine the angles and everything else? It's just curious, you know. You think about things like that, you know, and I think about, you know, situations back in the day. You know, they didn't have, you know, AutoCAD or, you know, 3D drawings or anything like that. They were doing it all by hand. They were doing it with math, you know, and by hand and stuff like that. So, you know, when you look at what we were able to achieve with fairly, well, what we would call anyhow rudimentary tools, although quite honestly, I knew a guy when I was first started working who was faster with a slide rule than I was with a calculator. Now, I learned how to use a slide rule in high school. I'm of that age. It was the transition period between slide rules and calculators, and you had to know how to use a slide rule, and the reasoning behind it was, well, what if your batteries wear out? What are you going to do then, you know? So for a while, you always took both. You always had a slide rule and a calculator. But this guy was an absolute master on a slide rule, and yeah, he even had a circular one, which I thought was just cool. But when you think about it, we have come a long way. We think we are so sophisticated and so talented and everything, but yet at the same time, you have to realize that we were able to put airplanes up in the sky with, well, slide rules and pen and paper, drafting and making plans and blueprints and stuff. That was done with, pen and paper. Yeah, and slide rules. It's curious. One of the things that I learned, which I thought was interesting, when you talk about that change over time between the ability to do math and everything else. Now, hopefully you know what the F-117 stealth fighter is and what it looks like. It looks like a faceted diamond almost. And then you have the B-2, which is, the B-2 stealth bomber, which is just absolutely this sleek and just beautiful flowing wing. And the reason for the difference is 100% in the ability to make computations. The F-117, from what I understand, looks the way it does because they had rudimentary, well, I say rudimentary, a younger generation, or rather an older generation of computers working on all of the calculations to create the panels, to create the skin geometry, if you will. And because the computers could only handle so many computations within a given period of time, it ended up looking like a faceted diamond. Now, on the other hand, the B-2 was made with a much more powerful computing system that was able to do lots and lots and lots of calculations and created essentially a beautiful flowing skin look to the thing. So it does make a difference. Now, when you think about that, with all that computing technology, we've been able to essentially make, well, a Mach 3, a Mach 4, a Mach 5. Really? Some of the starter companies, things like now you want to talk a beautiful razor, like the One Razor. That's a pretty razor, and there was a lot of design elements in there, but it's just curious that you have something back in the day that was made 1900s back when, and very suitable, very usable. Some in some situations, an absolutely superb device. And that was back in the days of pencil, paper, slide rules. Yeah, it is just curious. It is just absolutely curious. Anyhow, kind of got off on a tangent there, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're driving down the road on a beautiful day in a mobile studio, and you've got no one else to talk to. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day. Hopefully you've had a good one too. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they kept bringing up stuff from the past as an indicator of the way things are today. This happened to me back then, so that makes me this, or that makes me that. At which point I kind of got exasperated and said, okay, time out. At some point, as a human being, you have to come to the realization that what's happened to you in the past, whether it be good or bad, has made you what you are today. It really has. Your experiences, your good things, your bad things, things that have happened to you, good and bad, have made you who you are. And at that point, once you are who you are, the only thing that you have left is decide whether or not you like that person. And if you don't like that person, do something about it. Not because of what's happened in the past, but because you don't like the person that you are. Don't sit there and say, this happened to me, therefore I am this and I am that, and I have no control. I'm sorry, as a human being, you do have control. You have control to manipulate yourself as an individual. You have the control to mold what you are and what you do and how you react to things as an individual. If something bad has happened to you in the past, look at it with the eye of, what did that change about me? What did that cause me to learn? Do I enjoy how I have reacted to that? If not, I will try from now on to react differently to those types of situations. You can't do anything about the past. The only thing you can do is change the way you react moving forward. And if you don't like the way you are, then change it. If you do like the way you are, stop complaining. Meanwhile, the biggest thing that I got out of this conversation is that there are things that are traveling around in people's hearts and minds that are literally eating them apart from the inside because they refuse to let go. They refuse to accept the fact, okay, that happened to me. It's over with. How have I grown from it? How have I changed? Okay, good. I'm happy with that. I'm now done. I'm done with that episode. I can reflect upon it from time to time, but for the most part, I'm done. People don't do that very often. And, quite honestly, it can be difficult to do. I understand that. But if you don't do that, you are going to have something that is eating you apart from the inside from now until forevermore, or at least until you finally decide to let go and quit and give up with the perpetual self-abuse that is going on internally. Look, we've all done bad things. That's what makes us human. We've all done good things. That's also what makes us human. We've suffered bad things. We've also enjoyed good things because other people are human. The only person that you can change at the end of the day is you. That's it. That's all you can change. You can't truly understand someone's motivation. You can't truly understand another individual. It is what it is. You can only change yourself, and you can only change your reactions to it. But in order to do that, you have to come to the realization that it is what it is. And you have to quit fighting, because sometimes fighting doesn't get you anywhere. If you are continually punching a brick wall because something bad happened to you in the past, punching the brick wall is not going to help anything. It's not going to change what happened. It's potentially not going to change how you reacted to what happened. It's not going to influence anything. It's just going to waste your time and hurt your hand. But you will continually find people that are punching a brick wall. Constantly. Constantly. And then when you finally say, stop, it's gotten to the point where they're actually comfortable punching the brick wall. It's become, well, the norm. And that's part of the problem. When we start wallowing in self-pity and woe is me, it becomes comforting and it becomes normal. And it's that normal that we need to crawl out of because it's not normal and it's not good. And the sooner that we crawl out of it, the sooner that we can live life and we can open the door to a brand new day and step out and go, holy cow, this is what the world is really like? Dang, why did it take me so long to get here? It's a good place out here. Leaving all the doubt and confusion and misery and just everything.
leaving it behind. Let the ghosts go. Take off their chains and let them fritter off into nothing. Learn what you need to learn from your past and carry on with your future, with the bright day that it is.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.